Would you like to come in? Well, let me open up the drawbridge and I'll let you in that way. Well, hello again and welcome back to my channel. Now, this time last year I was putting the walls up, so I like to think I've come quite a long way in a relatively short space of time. Now, things aren't completed 100% both inside and out, but I think now's as good a time as any to give you a little bit of a workshop tour. Well, I'm calling this my disability workshop tour, and on the surface of things when I show you around, it looks very similar to any other workshop. I just want you to factor in these two considerations at the back of your mind, which are my main two factors whenever I'm considering designing something for in here or purchasing a new piece of equipment. And number one is ease of use. So someone who has the functional loss of one limb, I need to be able to easily use a piece of equipment and also in a safe manner. And number two is the capacity for it to be a time-saving device. Now, I know I'm never going to completely close the gap between myself and you guys, but if I can kind of narrow the gap a little bit to make my working a little bit more efficient, then any design feature or equipment in here is of a huge benefit for me to be able to do that. And thinking of those two factors, let's look at the actual design of the workshop itself. Now, just to give you some dimensions, it's around 24 foot by 12 foot in here, which is about 7.3 meters by 3.6 meters. So if you're in the UK, that's a decent sized workshop. If you're over the pond in the US, it's a small workshop. And can I attest to being the only person in the UK who has a functioning drawbridge in their workshop? But it's there for a purpose. It's not just to bring the inner child out in me. And just to give you an example of that, in terms of getting goods in and out of here. Now, I've got a video out recently about my table saw and the time for maybe thinking of an upgrade, and I do have issues with dust collection around it, but that's not to say I can't use it still in here, but I prefer to use it outside. So if I want to get that me Evolution Rage 5S outside, to lower the drawbridge and just drag it out like this is really easy for me to do. I can do it in a matter of seconds, shall we say. If I'm wanting to get it out of a standard British UPVC door, then I'm going to need assistance. And to be honest, it'd be difficult for anyone to do that. But lowering the drawbridge, get the table saw out there and bring it back in when I've finished makes things a lot easier, and it doesn't put any stress on the back. It can be simply done one-handed. So there's some little things like design features like that, and not just imagining it's Thunderbird 2. Right then. Oh, so let's show you around. I think probably the best place to start is at the heart of it really, which is my newly built workbench. Well, I suppose with any workshop really, at the heart of it should be the workbench. Now, just one other design feature to talk about within the workshop, with the exception of my metal shelves in the corner, everything you see in here is on wheels or casters. So it is designed for portability, for maneuverability, and for flexibility as well. Now, this was recently constructed, and I think I've been guilty of saying this on my channel many times, that something has been a game changer for me, but I didn't realise how much I was struggling in my making kind of capacity until I built this bench. All right, and it's in over 2 episodes on my channel if you want to check out how I made it. It is just under 2 meters long and around and about 85 centimeters wide. It has a huge amount of storage within this workbench. I've got 2 massive shelves underneath that stores sanders. It's got my domino down there. It's got all kinds of stuff, my trend gear, sanding discs around the back as well. I've got the router cases and stuff. It is a huge amount of storage in there, which would probably be dead space otherwise. At the heart of it is my MFT, and the bench dog stuff that I use is like getting an arm back. Okay, simple little things. If you look at my channel on any videos I've used since having this, you will see how I have adapted it for my needs and how clever and how useful it is for me. I do think having the combination of some not completely MFT top, okay, so actually having some solid ply on either side is great, particularly when I'm using my track saw, because this supports the cut piece on this side. All right, so I haven't got, obviously got my, you know, my other hand to do that. So that's, this piece here supports it, but also when you're putting a few bits and pieces together, like when I've put some things, what was it, what I've done recently? Oh yeah, when I put my my WRT, my trend router table together, having that actual hard plywood top, so you're not losing screws down the dog holes, then yeah, that comes in handy. It's designed, let me pull this out so I can show you, to be a 360-degree table, so I'm comfortable just as easily working around this side as I am working around what we might think the main side is. I am tempted though, and health permitting will be going to make essential. I'm going to have a good look at the bench dog's rail hinge, because I think that might be a nice little addition to this, but I'm going to go and check it out. Hopefully, fingers crossed that I'll be able to make it there this year. Now, in regards to the flexibility of this space, I just want to show you, and I think it's probably best to actually demonstrate it more than anything really, in regards to this just being a traditional workbench that's up against the wall. There we go. Or how I can adapt it for use with my router table, for use with my bandsaw, or for use with the table saw as well. Now, all of those machines at some point might need some kind of outfeed table. Now, they've been purposefully designed to be at the height of this workbench, with the exception of the router table, which is slightly higher, but I've made some adjustments to that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you how I can adapt this space to fit the table saw, to fit the router table, and to fit the bandsaw as well in and around here, and use this as an outfeed table. So it really is that simple. I even showed you that in real time, so it wasn't even sped up. So I've got the facility here with my new trend WRT with the T14 attached underneath. Got videos on that, so I can use that as an outfeed table here. I've got plenty of room to safely maneuver around, and I've got my table saw at the end here to use the main table as an outfeed table, but also plenty of space behind me as well. And also to still use the MFT while I've got it set up like this. It is really flexible and so easy to maneuver, particularly with everything on casters. And just one thing I forgot to mention about the workbench, thank you, I can't remember your name unfortunately, but the subscriber who got in touch with me and said, make sure I put 6 wheels on and not 4, because he said he'd done a similar thing and it sagged in the middle. So the 6 wheels, touch plywood, are working fine for this, and hopefully I won't see any sagging within that, because it needs to be nice and level, particularly if you're doing stuff like resin work. Right, I'm going to get this put back to where I had them, and then I'm going to take you onto the miter saw station. Well, I don't think you can really describe this as a traditional miter saw station, but bear with me. At the heart of it is the magnificent Festool Capex KS60, but with the UG frame underneath and the extension wings. Now, I've done a significant amount of research when choosing my miter saw, And a big appeal of it was the actual frame that comes with it. There is nothing else, to my knowledge, out there on the market anything like this, and mitre saw stands all look a similar way. They're quite cumbersome, they're difficult for me to set up. But this is an extremely flexible way of working, because within minutes I can collapse this down, take it outside if I need to, use it out there and bring it back in via the drawbridge like the table saw. But in a video for these, I decided to make some extra storage to go under the wings, and it also gives the wings that added support in here. And that was, I'm not going to say a masterstroke, but it was a really good idea. And if anyone's got one of these, I'd highly recommend doing this, because as well as having all the extra storage underneath, I've got all my resin stuff here, and I've got some more of my Festool stuff and my little Rutland's compressor down here. It gives you like a little extra worktop stuff. On this part is lots of my go-to things, including my tape measures, so they're easy reach for me. And also on this side as well, stuff like my glue. I've got my little palm router, my little Trem palm router here, and my vinyl gloves, that kind of thing. So it's just there at easy reach, just underneath one of my tool walls. So yeah, I've got my Merkur dust extractor. It's one of 3 that I've got in here. This was an older one I was going to sell. It's discontinued, this one now. But I decided to keep it, and it's just hooked up to the mitre saw just to make things a little bit easier. So yeah, here's the mitre saw station. Just above it, I put a shelf in. Again, I got a video on this, and I've got my Axminster, can't say that word, air scrubber on the top up there. And I also keep my brad nail gun up here. And I can't explain why. It's just that I put it up there one day and I remembered it was up there, and it's kind of stayed there since. So yeah, hope you like this one. I'm going to talk you a little bit through the 2 walls now, and then we're going to have a look at the other side of the workshop with a few other bits and pieces. Right, this is one of 2 walls I've got in here. Now, it's not a French cleat system, but I actually mounted it, and again, I've got a video on this, using a French cleat, so I managed to be able to get it up there myself and then secured it in the corners using some fixings. It is LED backlit, or both of them are, just showing off a little bit there. And this part here, again, and my reach to my go-to stuff. So I've got like my laser measure, I've got my squares there, and I kind of reach for these things quite a lot. I've got my carbide scraper, also got some kind of hammers and scissors, and my speed square and stuff up there. Face mask and my Isotunes, noise cancelling headphones and stuff. So yeah, really happy with this. I'll tell you what, I'll take you over to the other one now, and that's kind of a work in progress, and I'll show you the kind of stuff I've got up on there. As I said, a little bit of a work in progress, but we're definitely getting there. I've got a clamp rack in the middle, and some of the other things are maybe what I don't use as often, but I need them to hand. A couple of thank yous as well. A big thank you to one of my subscribers, Bill, Idler's Dream, who made me this lovely, 3D printed this lovely hinge for my bench dogs rail square. It's really nice. Thanks for that, Bill. And also one of my early subscribers, Jeff. Now, I've done a video exclusively about this. This is a domino jig which allows me to change the bits one-handed. Very clever, and thank you very much for that, Jeff. But you know how much I thank you for that in the past. A few other bits and pieces. My square enough. So I've got some Japanese pulse saws. I've ordered a few bits and pieces from Banggood recently. I'm quite impressed with this actually. Yeah, it's come in handy. I've only used it a couple of times, and this is Mark II of my push stick for my planer thicknesser. And again, a huge thank you to Stu Parker, SP Wood Creations. Stu's got his Etsy store there. He very kindly 3D printed these for me, and Stu does all the accessories for like the Evolution Rage 5 and the Ferrex bandsaw, the emergency stop buttons. Again, keep saying this, videos and all that in my back catalogue if you want to have a little look. Okay, so there's the tool walls sorted out. I think it's time to have a look at the main beast within the workshop, or shall we say the heartbeat. Okay, regular subscribers would have seen this before. Let me reintroduce you to the Axminster Trade AT260 SPT, the spiral cutter block planer thicknesser. Now, just want to refresh your mind about 2 of the criteria that I had, which was the ease of use and also the time-saving capacity. This was a huge investment for me, and it's gone up quite a bit since. All right, we were talking around about the £1,800 when I purchased this. The spiral cutter block was the time saving capacity. On my previous benchtop thicknesser, changing the plane and the blades was, I won't say it was impossible, but it would take me around 2 days to change the 2 long blades, because it was just such a fiddly job, and trying to do it one-handed was just so frustrating and so difficult to do. I haven't changed the blade, I haven't spun the blades round once yet. I've had this must be well over 6 months now. And also, again, if you follow me on social media, you know, the reason going for this, because, you know, such a lot of money, I am in a very fortunate position where I have regular access to hardwoods at no cost, shall we say. Very kind from a company who, what they describe as their offcuts, I describe as absolute gold. And at the back, I've got some here at the moment, which the purpley stuff at the bottom, it's called Kumaru or Kumaru. All right, so, and when it planes up, it is beautiful. Okay, if you can look at that there. All right, it's stunning, like Purple Heart almost. It's gorgeous wood. It's very dense and suitable really for kind of outdoor furniture, that kind of thing, which is my intended purpose for some of this. So to get those kind of things at no cost to me, it made sense for me to go for a more premium machine, easy for me to use, and also it means I can kind of earn that money back really. I'm hoping this will pay for itself within a couple of years, and then after that, you know, could be turning some profit after that. So fantastic machine. I would wholeheartedly recommend anyone who is thinking of purchasing this to go for it, and I certainly recommend the spiral cutter block over the regular planer blades, which are great, but when you get a finish like that, that's had no sanding, it reduces the amount of time I need for sanding. Again, ease of use, time saving capacity. One moan though, okay, and it's don't often you do hear me moan, is I have a hate-hate relationship with the Axminster trolley that came with it, the wheels underneath. Don't like it at all. All right, what I think I really need is, it's got the 2 spinny wheels and then 2 kind of locked wheels, straight wheels. I need something that's got 4 spinny wheels really, because it'd just be easier to maneuver around. I don't like it. I'm going to replace it at some point, but I have to put up with it in the meantime. Right, let's have a little look, I think, at some dust extraction here. A few more bits and pieces before we wrap things up. Right, in addition to my Merkur dust extractor, which is permanently hooked up to my miter saw, this is my dust extraction setup for in here. Just talking about this topic, I recently watched Dennis from Hooked on Wood, his dust extraction setup with the silencer box and stuff, and it was phenomenal. If you haven't checked out that video, you must go and see it. Really enjoying his content recently. Right, the workhorse of the workshop is this, the T14 EK, which is an M-class dust extractor, and this is my low volume, high pressure. So I use this, for example, on my track saw, on my sanders, those kind of things, the smaller handheld tools. No problem whatsoever in recommending this. I do have a bespoke video on this to show its capabilities, its wet and dry, vacuuming, as well as its dust extraction. Price point is excellent as well. You can get it for around and about £150. So M-class extraction at that price is very, very good indeed. And as I've recently found out, you know, you only get one set of lungs, all right, and you need to look after them. So please do not shy away from dust extraction, because it's not fancy in regards to a new tool, but it is very important in your setup, all right. And this is the big one, all right. This is the Axminster, this is the Craft, the AC82E with the optional filter. Okay, so this is for the smaller microns, so the invisible ones that do more harm than the ones you can see. All right, and this is very good. I have this hooked up to my planer thicknesser, also to my belt and disc sander as well. No complaints with this, does the job really good. I had a video on assembling it, which was easier said than done. I'm better now, and thanks to the feedback for changing the bag, because that was a bit of a nightmare. Still not great, but it's certainly better than what it was. And that just sits just to the side of the little bench over there, out of the way. Just if you're thinking of getting these, you've got to factor in price point for stuff like the hose, because that doesn't come with it, and those things aren't cheap. I think 3 meters was about 60 quid. So when you're looking at the price, you go, that's all right. You think of those things as well. You've got to add on the hose. Definitely recommend getting the additional filter as well if you're thinking of going down this route. All right, so that's dust extraction sorted out. Let's have a little look at sanding and one or two other bits, and then we'll bring things to a conclusion. Well, ridiculous amounts of sanding goes on in this workshop. Over in the corner, just under the second tool wall, I've got a little sanding station, which has my Ferrex belt and disc sander set up. I've had that for a couple of years now. Very happy with that. And I've got a little Triton palm belt sander sort of thing. So that's for kind of rough work, just kind of cleaning up the edges on some resin boards, slabs that I use. I've also got all my sanding discs stored, or most of them stored under there. And I've got some under here as well. Yeah, main ones that I use, my Festool ETS EC150 is largely my go-to one. That's the main, that's my random orbit sander. And I also have an Festool RTS 400 REQ, and this has been on loan since last summer, very kindly from Merca, which is the Merca Dios. And finally, after months and months of me saying I'll be doing it, next week's video is a comparison between these two, the do's and don'ts and what to look out for. And quite interesting that actually, some really good results coming out of that one. I also talk quite a lot about my Rutland's vacuum clamp, which hooked up to my little compressor. Fantastic they are. I just kind of put them onto here, and what it allows me to do is sand 5 sides, so all around the sides and the top, without having to move a clamp, and then I can just flip it over and do the other side. So they come in really handy. Use them all the time, particularly for things like chopping boards or doing some kind of rough boards, again, getting them ready for kind of resin pours or something like that. They come in really handy. One piece of advice, and I'm not great for giving advice, if you are, as I was, like a budget tool person, so you started out with your Aldi, your Ferrex, Lidl, those kind of things, and you're looking to upgrade your tools, I would say the first premium tool to look for should be a sander, a random orbit sander, or just an orbit sander, because the difference between working with it and the finish is incredible. Look at things like vibration. Okay, if you use your budget random orbit sander, is your arm aching after a very short period of time? Have you got pins and needles in your hand? That kind of thing. Now, this was a random orbit sander was my first luxury purchase, definitely because I don't have the luxury of switching from my left hand to my right hand. Okay, I only use my left hand. I can sand for hours with these, all right, and have no issues whatsoever. Okay, so that's the difference. You know, you're investing in the tool, obviously, but you're investing in yourself and looking after yourself as well. And I would certainly say a premium random orbit sander should be your first go-to, above maybe track saws or miter saws or any of those kind of things. It's only a personal thing, but something definitely worth considering. Right, a little bit of a work in progress in this corner, but we're getting there. As I say, one thing I definitely need to do as a matter of urgency is build a stand to go up on the wall for my clamps. This metal framed stand in the corner here I got off Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description to that if anyone's interested. Good, nice and sturdy, take quite a lot of weight. And the only thing that's fixed in this workshop, as I say, everything else is on wheels. I put this shelf up for tools that I still use, but I only use on occasion. So I've got my Wagner spray gun up here. I've got my Trend light, my worksite light, which does come in handy. My old Combi drill drivers or my old impact drivers, my work saw and track saw in the corner up there. So yeah, I still use these, but I don't use them that often. I'm mindful that I need to build some kind of cabinet over here for my finishes, because I haven't done that yet, you know, kind of fireproof, that kind of thing. So yeah, I do need to get that job done. But yeah, we're getting there. It's definitely heading in the right direction. Oh, one thing as well, and again, a thank you to, I'm sorry, I can't remember your names, but when I was doing the piping for the electrics to come through for the armoured cable, and someone said, why don't you throw an Ethernet cable down there as well, which I did, and I've now got that hooked up. So the actual, although I'm quite a distance from the house, the Wi-Fi in here is great. So that makes things easy, you know, I'm trying to follow some YouTube videos, some tutorials, then yeah, it makes things a lot easier that I don't have to go into the house to do it. I can do it out here. So thank you for whoever it was for that tip. much appreciated. Okay, I'm going to take you over to the other corner now, just near the drawbridge, and just to show you a couple of bits over there. Okay, got a few bits and pieces on the go over here. Firstly, I've got my beautiful painted sign that Pam did for me earlier on in the year. The white wall's holding up really well, which was painting the OSB using masonry paint and Zinza Bullseye as the primer. I'm not doing a video on these because they didn't turn out that great. Finally managed to get the beech wooden enclosure frames for the UPVC. Now, if you follow me on social media, you'll know a little bit more about them. So yeah, they're done, they're up. Yeah, and we'll leave it at that. This corner, I keep my Hupar laser stand. I've very kindly been sent a laser level from Hupar, and I'm going to do a comparison between these two because this is a slightly more professional one, shall we say, as opposed to this is a little bit more entry level. So that's a plan for that one. Down here, what I'm starting to do now, hopefully the camera's following me, is any of the hardwoods that I'm going to be working with on upcoming projects, I'm storing them in the workshop down here. Let's get you around here as well. All right, so I've got the Kumaru over there, and I've also brought the oak sleepers in. Now, I'm just wondering if there's anyone in Merseyside who has the capacity to cut an oak sleeper in half down the middle, because I need that. I haven't got any gear that will get anywhere close to that. So if you're in the Liverpool Merseyside area and you've got a bandsaw that could cut them in half, could you get in touch with me? Happy to come over and see you, you know, pay for your services and facilities, that kind of thing. Much appreciate that. A big thank you to my subscriber Will, who very kindly provided me with the electric winch for the drawbridge, because when I was putting it together, I described the drawbridge at the time as either a genius idea or completely stupid. All right, okay, yeah, I'm going with the genius. It's brilliant, all right, but it wouldn't be possible without the electric winch because it'd just be too heavy. All right, so if you're thinking of doing that, be mindful of that, or I'd thoroughly recommend it if you are in the design stage of your workshop. Get yourself a drawbridge. Okay, right, let's get back into the middle. I think I've pretty much covered everything here, and let's just have a little conclusion before we sign it off. And I just want to talk a little bit about routing before we wrap things up. This is my Trend WRT, the workshop router table, with the brand new T14 half-inch router installed, which has the switch which meets all the new legislation. I also have a Trend 1/4-inch palm router. Now these were all very kindly supplied to me by Trend for purposes of review. You know, I'm not sponsored by them. Free to say what I like. Okay, I've only had, I've had a video on this about assembling it and installing the T14. I've only had the chance to do brief experiments with it, shall we say. Really impressed with it up to now. And thank you to the subscriber who told me about the Dustport adapter, which I got from Yandles. I think it's a record one, goes from 100mm to, I don't know, I think it's 57 or something like that. It fits in perfectly, and my large dust extractor works well with that. Palm routing I'm fine with, one-handed. Okay, I use this for chamfers or for roundovers on cutting boards or on the resin tables or anything like that. Really happy with this, with the battery operated one, which is part of the new T14 range. I've also got the impact driver, the Combi driver, that kind of thing. Really impressed with that, and it's easy for me to use. Okay. Right, folks, I think that's pretty much it. There will be things around the workshop that I might not have talked about, and please, if you've seen something in the back and you'd like to get in touch and ask some questions, then I've got all of my contact details, the social media stuff, or the comment section. Please get in touch, and I'm happy to try and answer your questions as best I can. Also trying out, still experimenting with my new recording gear, my Rode Wireless, which I talked about in the last video, and also the gimbal. Wouldn't mind a little bit of feedback on the gimbal side of things. Do you like it? Do you think it gives you seasickness or motion sickness? Please let me know, because you know I'm trying to work with improving the quality of my videos, improving the quality of my output, but without feedback on it, you know, I'm guessing as to whether it's any good or not. Oh, okay, as ever, folks, you know, take good care of yourselves, you know, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.